Hi, welcome to Actualol. I'm Jon Purkis. Today I'm talking about Narcos, the board game. This is from Simon, and it's based on the TV series called Narcos, which is on Netflix. And the story of that is it's about Pablo Escobar, the world famous Colombian drug dealer. And in this game, you are playing as Pablo Escobar or Patron and trying to hide from the factions that are trying to find you and arrest you. So there are 4 factions that are after Pablo Escobar, and they will be divided up amongst multiple players. So if you play 2 players, it's just Patron versus the good guys, and one person plays as all 4 of them. And if you play with more than that, then you will be dividing up these factions. What's interesting about this game is that it's kind of like a hidden movement game, like Letters from Whitechapel or Fury of Dracula, but with a bit less movement than those games, because you play over seasons and Patron will only move every season. So he's not moving around lots, but it's quite hard for the other factions to find out where he is. And he's actually got more things to do than your average hidden movement game, because it isn't just about not being caught. There are objectives that he has to complete, and he can also improve the glory of his name in Colombia. So he wins the game in 2 ways. One is to complete 3 objectives, and he's assigned 3 at the start of the game, but he decides when they will be revealed. And each objective gives you a power when it's revealed. So when revealed, the next action to activate, choose the next faction to activate. So you get to have an impact on the other team's game. So you get something when it's revealed, and then you have an objective that now the other team know about. And once you complete that objective, you get a little benefit as well. So you're trying to complete 3 of these objectives, but because they know what you're going for, then maybe you'll be able to, they will try to stop you. So some of the things that Patron can do in the game is he can create these drug farms or labs. You've got these farm locations on the board. The board is made up of city locations and farm locations. And a farm location, he can build drug labs. He can build more than one. And for every drug lab, you get a cocaine cube on it. And these cocaine cubes, they want to be taken to airports by Patron sicarios to make money. And for every drug lab he has on the board, he's also going to make income. Money is important because it allows Patron to move between seasons. The more money he has, the further he'll be able to move on the map. The way Patron does pretty much anything on the board is with his sicarios. They are like his henchmen, and he has got 7 of them that are based on characters from the TV series. So this is Limon, and I would play this card. I would get to do an action or have a special ability. But what I'd also do is place Limon onto the board. What's crucial about this is that I'm placing Limon within range of Patron. So each Sicario has a range as to how far away from Patron you can play them. So, for example, Limon here is assigned to the green color, and that Sicario can only be up to 3 spaces away. So for the purposes of this, Patron is in O11. That is where he's based. The other faction don't know, but I've written it down on my sheet that I'm at O11 in the first round of the game. And then when I play that Limon card, I would take his mini from here, and it has a range of 3. So I could have played it anywhere sort of around here, up to 1, 2, 3 away from where Patron is. Of course, that's giving information to the other team because they can see this. They know that the range is 3, so they know now that Patron can't possibly be up here because it's too far away from where I placed this character. When the characters are on the board, they can block the hunters. So all the hunter factions have their own minis, and minis can never share the same space as someone else. So if I'm here, they can't move through me without first killing me, getting me out of the way. And so that's going to slow them down, and And that's really what you're trying to do a lot as Patron, is to slow down the other team, is to stop them from getting places. So another way that you would stop them is with these control tokens. So they are placed onto cities that Patron now controls. The hunter can't move into a controlled city until it has removed that token. One of the main reasons that Patron wants to keep their Sicarios on the board is that they gain glory for him throughout Colombia. So he can win the game by getting to 20 glorification. Everyone in Colombia now loves him and he can just get away with anything. And so every time a Sicario is left out at the end of a season or a round, they will give a certain amount of glory depending on the character. So here, this purple character, which is in this game is Sure Shot, he has a glorification of 5. That's the most in the game. So if he's still alive at the end of the season, Patron will get 5 glory. How do the Sicarios stay out? Well, they're going to obviously be attacked by the hunters. The hunters are trying to destroy them because they don't want Patron to get this glory. And so they get into fights. And each of these Sicarios has been assigned a secret strength. So at the start of each round, Patron has a limited number of tokens. So the strength for Limon here is 4. That's the highest. So he's incredibly hard to kill. Whereas Prisco has a strength of 0, so they would have no trouble in killing them. But there's bluffing involved because you don't know until these tokens are flipped, until you actually go to attack them, how strong they're going to be. So you could waste an action trying to kill Limon when you don't have the ability to kill him, but you don't know that. It might be 0, and that's a lot of the game, is trying to bluff about where you are, but also bluff about your strength, and you're trying to trick the other players into doing things the way you want to do them. On top of the normal Sicarios, Patron always has 2 special ones. They're like his special right-hand men, Leon and La Kika, and they are a specialist drug dealer and a specialist assassin. So Leon can move further with drugs because the Sicarios will collect drugs when they go into a region. They can take one of them. And then if they end the season on an airport and they haven't died, then that drug gets shipped and Patron will get money for it. So they will get 4 cash. Leon doesn't have to wait until the end of the season to ship the drugs. They immediately get shipped. And so there's a lot less risk of it not happening and you still get the cash, because otherwise the hunters could zoom in and stop them from getting that money by killing them before they get to ship the drugs. Lakika is the assassin, and when you place him, you'd be doing it to try and deactivate one of the hunters. So you would place it adjacent to a hunter that you don't want to have their turn this round, and then you give them a choice. It's called Plata or Plomo, and basically you're choosing to either be shot, which means that they get deactivated, they can't do anything, or you, instead of being shot, because you want to take that hunter's turn, you would give them the benefit on the other side. And it's always something that's really good for Patron. So in this instance, it means that Patron gets to place 3 lab tokens. Patron plays 4 cards per season, so he gets to place out 4 Sicarios. And when you place a Sicario, you can also place tokens on or adjacent to your spot. So you can place labs into farms, which add cocaine. You can place control tokens into cities, or you can remove adjacent blockades, which are going to be slowing down your movement. At the end of the season, Patron has to reveal their location, so the other team immediately know where they were, but now Patron has the opportunity to move, and they spend cash equal to the number of spaces that they want to move to. So if Patron was on 011, and they want to move all the way up to C1, they're going to have to spend 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cash to be able to get there. But what they could do is spend 7 cash and only move to A5. So there's some interesting bluffing there, because if you've got loads of cash, and hopefully you do because of selling drugs and building labs, then you've got way more leeway in terms of bluffing, and it really throws the other team off because they can get nothing out of that information. You could be anywhere on the board at that point. The only way to really stop that is by placing hunters and blockades so that when Patron does move, he literally wouldn't be able to move. And we did that one turn. We were able to just close off an entire part of the board. So no matter how much money they spent, they couldn't get through. And so that's an interesting thing that the hunters maybe want to build towards, because if they can close off part of Colombia, then it's going to make it so much easier for them to try to catch Patron the next round. Their objective to win the game is to catch Patron twice. So once they catch him once, he has the opportunity to just move again to anywhere on the board. But if they catch him that second time, they immediately win the game. So let's have a look at how the hunters take their actions. There are 4 hunter factions that are all working together to catch Patron. You've got the DEA, Los Pepes, the National Police of Colombia, and the Cali Cartel. And they will all take 1 turn each every season. So Patron will take a turn, then one of the factions, and they choose amongst themselves who goes first, then Patron, then another faction, and so on. So throughout the game, the separate factions might actually not have that many turns, depending on how soon the game finishes. And I would say that maybe in a 4 or 5 player game, there's just maybe not enough to do for a lot of those players. So I would prefer this game with 2 or 3, because you share those factions and you're going to have just a bit more to do when it's the good guy's turn. The way they take their actions is very simple. It uses this action board, and there's a bunch of things they can do. They can try to capture Patron. This can only happen twice in a season. And they can take any number card that's available and put it over here. And they can basically pick a number on the board and ask Patron, are you there? And if they're there, then they've caught him, and great. If they're not, they don't really get any other information other than that. They can destroy drug labs, and the way they do that is with the number on the card determines how many they can destroy that are adjacent to them. So this green hunter here could destroy both of these labs for 1 action. They could place blockades or remove control tokens. So this hunter here could replace one here and here, and that's going to stop Patron Sicarios from moving. They can attack Sicarios, and this is where the number is important, because it would determine the strength of the attack. So there's not many 4 cards in this deck. There's a few 3 cards. And so if they were coming up against a Sicario, that would be their strength. And then Patron would reveal the strength of his Sicario. And if they have greater than, then the Sicario is out of the game for that season. It's dead. So they need to maybe save their strong action cards for that. The most interesting action spots are where you can find out where Patron is. So there are 3 options here, but they need very specific cards. And if you don't have them, you won't be able to do it. So first you can ask what region they're in with a number 1 card. There's not that many 1 cards in the game, but it's huge information, because Patron has to then tell them, are they in Area C, Area A, or Area O, the different districts of Colombia. And you immediately then know where in this massive board that Patron is, roughly. So there's that one. Then you can, with a number 2 card, you can ask what type of spot are they in. Are they in a city or are they in a farm? Those are the only 2 types. And so that information is only really useful if you have a rough idea about where they might be, but it's certainly going to whittle things down. And one of the interesting things that the factions have are these plastic tokens that they can put on the board, and they can use it just as a marker as to where they think Patron might be. So it helps them, when they've eliminated places, they can just remove those markers, and it really lets them track that information that they've learned. And then the final one, which requires a 3, is a range. And this is where you would pick a hunter and ask Patron how many spaces away from that hunter they are. So again, it helps to have deduced down a few locations. So if Patron was over here, he would be 1, 2, 3 spaces away, and he would say 3, but that could mean he could be in lots of different places. But he actually says 2 numbers. He says one that is the truth and one that's a lie. So the Patron really has to think about the lie that he's going to tell, because he wants it to really throw the hunters off. just like in any hidden movement game, there's that tension of the cat and mouse, the hunters getting really, really close and Patron really sweating because he knows that they've got loads of information on him. And I've seen multiple times in this game, players getting between 1 or 2 locations and then just sort of picking the right or the wrong one just before the season ends and Patron gets to move again. I've seen it come down right to the wire in the 3rd season where basically Patron is going to win at the end of this season because the glory's up, he's going to complete the objective, but can the hunters catch him that 2nd time and they get really, really close? And it definitely delivers that type of thematic tension that you would want from something like this. I feel like it really delivers on the story that it's trying to tell. Another area where the game plays up its theme is giving little powers to each of the different factions. So the DEA can move faster. Los Pepes are taking money from Patron every time he spends money on things, and they can then use that money to reveal the strength of his sicarios so they get to know a bit of information. The Colombian police are more deadly, and they've got 2 special action cards they can spend to improve their strength when they're going into a fight. And the Cali Cartel, because they're another drug cartel, they can pick up cocaine as they walk through the map, and they can spend 2 cocaine to take an extra action that turn. The game itself doesn't have massively complicated rules. The first game you will be in the rulebook a bit, but I think once you've got it down, you've got it. And part of that is because the rules really fit the theme. They all kind of make sense. And it's not that complex, but there is a real depth to the decision making, especially on Patron's side. And that's really where he is overwhelmed with options. He's got 5 different cards that he can play, and then he can activate different sicarios. He's got to be assigning those hidden strength tokens. He has to decide, does he go for objectives? And which objective? Is he trying to get income to help his movement? And that will involve him placing more drug labs. Or is he trying to stop the movement of hunters by placing control tokens? Is he trying to get his glory up by making sure that those sicarios are on the board at the end of each season? Or is he just trying to stay hidden because they're really close to finding him? And every time he does something, it will be giving some information away to the other team. And how much does he want to limit giving that information away versus just trying to win by his means, by either getting glory or by completing his objectives? So I think that the game really fits the theme, but it is quite an intense game, especially if you're playing on Patron's side. The game is going to last roughly 2 hours, maybe longer, depending on how long it takes for one faction to win it. And I just found it as Patron to be quite stressful in terms of the options. Not just stressful. A hidden movement game is supposed to be stressful and you really feel like you're going to be caught at all times. And there is that. But it's also just stressful knowing what to do and thinking through your turn. And it even says in the rulebook, maybe your first game only allow 5 minutes for Patron's turn. And I can understand that because there's just a lot to read on all those cards and a lot to get your head around. And I think for an AP player, it could take a while, this game. What impressed me about Narcos is that it's different to any other board game out there. Yeah, it shares some hidden movement stuff that exists in other games, but it's adding these extra elements. Having to run your own drug business and the other faction having to kind of stamp that out. This idea of placing out your men and it having to be in range and them doing your dirty work for you. It really fits that theme, but does it necessarily give you a more interesting game? It's certainly a different game, and it's almost like you come in knowing that you like hidden movement games, and then it's taking a lot of that away and giving you something else entirely. And I really respect that, but I'm not sure I necessarily want that in a game. I think if you love the TV show, there's so many thematic touches in this. All the characters, the artwork's really nice. Every miniature looks like the actor in the TV show. I think there's a really rich thematic game in here, and some people are going to really love this. I enjoyed it. I'm not sure it's going to stick around in my collection. That's Narcos, the board game. I've put a link to where you can buy Narcos in the description below. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel to see more videos like this. And if you want to support Actualol grow bigger and better and make more and more videos like this more regularly, then please consider supporting on patreon.com/Actualol. I'm Jon Purkis. Thanks for watching.